If we can agree that how we think affects how we feel, and how we feel affects how we think, that cycle then goes on to have an effect on our behaviour, how we act, then it stands to reason that if we change the way that we think, then we can change the way we feel and we can change our behaviour. This cycle over time creates a state of being, so we need to break that state of being and create a new one. One of the problems is we aren't aware of what we're thinking. We think we're making decisions, we think we're consciously, actively making decisions, and we're not. We are running the program. Once we engage in another activity, our subconscious takes over and runs the whole thing. We get into a place where we are living unconsciously. We get up in the morning, we do the same things, we think the same things. We are priming ourselves for the day ahead, and it's exactly the same as yesterday, and the day before, and the day before. We need to break that cycle. We can create a new state of being, a new personality, and while we're at it, we might as well go back to being as authentic as possible, and create a completely new life for ourselves, one of enjoyment, where we aren't angry, insecure, we don't have anxiety, depression, we're not stressed all the time. When I left hospital, a friend of mine asked me, recently actually, your catalyst for change was almost dying. I said, well, yes and no, really. The worst thing about the whole episode with the hospital, 7 weeks in a hospital bed, a week in intensive care, unable to walk unaided. I couldn't get my head around the fact that I had to be helped to walk. And in a split second, really, the decision is made. I have to walk. I have to change the way I think. I have to change the way I feel and change the way I act. Although I was so angry, we can use these emotions. We can use what's been driving us one way in another way. We can start to use them in a positive way, which is beneficial to our lives. It became about moving forward. Everything in life was about getting to where I wanted to be. To become aware of our unconscious thoughts and change our perception of life, we have to go deep. We have to spend time with ourselves alone, and be aware. Metacognition, I keep saying be aware of our thoughts. For me, when I started cycling, this gave me the time and space to go inward and really get to know myself, get to know what I was thinking. And later on, meditation. You sit in that space of nothingness and be with your thoughts. Come out of it with a better idea of what you are thinking. Make decisions on them, as opposed to reacting to them, which is what we tend to do. Getting out of that unconscious living, becoming conscious, we are in control of ourselves. I had a conversation on Saturday. So we're not necessarily in control of our life in general, but we're certainly in control, or more control of our life, our personal life, because we are consciously making decisions where we thought we were before. Again, if we can get to that place, life is not so dramatic. It's an easier place to be. There's less stress, there's less anxiety. I know where my anxiety was coming from. I was getting up in the morning and I was priming myself for the day at the fight, in the day ahead in work. By the time I got to the office, I was so stressed about what was going on, it didn't matter if it happened or not. Because the mind, the body and the mind don't understand whether or not the experience is actually taking place. Because as humans, we can bring on the stress response just by thought alone. Changing the way we think will diminish the amount of stress we have in our lives naturally.